IRC Media brings you the first source you can watch for truth on board decisions in Indian River County. The Board Report, where taxpayers and policymakers intersect. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to get notified when we go live on Fridays at 7 p.m. Visit IndianRiverConnections.com for more.
Everybody, welcome back to the Board Report brought to you by Indian River County Media. Hi, John. John, are you there?
How you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing good. So we
Yeah,
got
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Yep.
Okay, good. So listen, guys, we got a really good guest on today because I know that everybody's been up in arms about what's going on with property that's being purchased, and everybody's worried about how the development is going forward in Indian River County. So we have a guest today that has a background. We're going to bring Chris Crawford on. He's a Vero Beach native, registered architect with over 30 years of experience. He was raised and educated locally. Chris brings a strong background in both the arts and sciences to his work in small commercial design and public building restoration. His passion lies in preserving quality of life through responsible growth and smarter planning along the transect between town and country. So I'm really looking forward to having Chris on and hoping that he helps to enlighten us for the future of Indian River County. What do you think, John?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of growth going on. I know the key words are good growth. You know, we hear that a lot. So, we got to be careful what kind of growth we allow, especially with these, 15-minute cities and stuff like that. And, land being purchased out west of town. It seems like it's a hot topic, and we just got to be careful. We don't want to turn into South Florida.
Yeah, we don't want to have a little Miami here and forget why we all moved here and why we love living here. I mean, everybody comes here because they just love, how it's spread out and you get that family feel, you get that old town feel, but then everybody wants to build it up into a little city after they've been here for a while and they're like, it doesn't have enough things to do. Well, it's like, hey, that's what brought you here.
True, very true. But you got to be able to have jobs and everything else too. So you have to be able to self-sustain that growth. And a lot of times Vero has a hard time with that, or Indian River County, because they don't bring enough, jobs into the mix to be able to have people be able to afford these places to live.
Yeah, that's so true because our kids go to college, they get a career, and they only want to come back to Vero Beach to visit. They move away. Like my daughter's in Colorado now, and she probably will never come back after she's been in Colorado and the mountains and skiing and hiking and has access to so many things and opportunities. Just like, oh, Mom, I'm not coming back to Vero.
Well, that's what happens. They usually come back, but like you said, to visit, unless there's an opportunity for some type of a job growth to where they can transfer or have an opportunity to have, make money that they're making in these other cities to be able to live here in this town.
I know. So listen, guys, stick around. We're going to be back. We're going to take a short commercial break and we'll be back with Chris Crawford.
Nice.
There's a kind of strength you can't buy or borrow. It's born in the fire, tempered by sacrifice, and carried by those who never stopped serving. Some heroes wear uniforms. Others wear scars. They're veterans, first responders, and Gold Star families. Men and women who gave everything and still keep giving. At the Warrior Shield Foundation, we stand beside them, shoulder to shoulder, providing the support, the care, and the community they deserve. We're a proud non-profit, a 501c3, built to protect those who protect us. We don't just serve our own. We help other non-profits reach their missions too, because together, we make the Shield stronger. Donate and help our cause, help their cause, because every act of kindness, builds hope where the battle still rages inside. Join the mission. Donate today. Visit warriorshield.org. Because heroes deserve a foundation as strong as their sacrifice.
Welcome back to the board report, everybody. And we have Chris Crawford with us today. Welcome, Chris.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. This has been a real topic with us all in Indian River County. It's growing, the infrastructure, it doesn't seem to be keeping up with the growth, and people are so concerned about it, and they're concerned about our green areas and these land bankers that come in and buy all this property from the farmers that are not doing well, ready to give it up, and they buy it dirt cheap, and then they're pretty much selling it back to us at a high cost if we get a chance to buy into it, or they want to sell it to somebody that wants to build some kind of high density community, but they've got to change all of that, the zoning. So they got to work on zoning and planning, and that's what they actually try to do over a period of time.
Well, that is what they try to do, and we have to be steadfast in protecting our green spaces um, because they are going to run out, and we can't just make more green space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that is my number one objective in getting involved in planning and zoning is to make sure that we preserve our green space and that we work towards a more compact urban core um, that that is walkable and could provide us with more economy, mixed uses, and attainable housing. Um, I think car dependency is probably one of our biggest problems. Suburban sprawl does not pay for itself. It certainly does not, and I think our urban areas. I know our urban areas um, subsidize our suburban areas with the cost of roads, maintaining roads and utilities and such and so forth. Um, and yeah, so I think the key word here is to make sure that we remain sustainable. And that's what I'm here to answer any questions and talk about and discuss.
So I know you had made some posts about section 91106, agricultural and rural districts. And then you also made a post about section 91114, planned development districts. So which one do you want to tackle first so that we have a better education on what this is telling us?
Well, 91106 is about the purpose and intent of the agricultural and rural districts. And I'll just say a couple of key things. It's intended to provide areas suitable for agriculture, conservation management, open space, vegetated cover, natural systems, aquifer recharge areas, wildlife areas, and scenic areas. It's meant to so that it doesn't provide for so that urban growth doesn't detrimentally impact lands devoted to rural and agriculture activities. And it's intended to buffer agricultural areas from urbanization. Um, so that is the intent of the agricultural district. And I feel like sometimes we're getting away from the purpose and intent that this code was written for back in 1990. And we have to keep reading on this. We have to make sure that our legislators and our planning staff, our new planning staff in particular, are aware of what the purpose and intent of that is.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but it's like what we're experiencing right now. We've got some areas that aren't even, they're ag two, and we've got land bankers like we just had, and they've purchased all this land and they want to make a killing on it and sell it to somebody and sell it to them and say, look, this is right off of 60, it's right off of 95. It's a great place for high density development. And we've already seen them trying to put the bug in the ear to change that zoning. And while they have a hold of that land, nobody else can buy it to farm it. It's too expensive now that they purchased it in those big parcels. They got those big parcels for almost nothing. I was there when they had an auction, and now to buy even 10 acres of one of those parcels, it's almost $1 million, or more. So it's kind of put us at a place where we're already trying to struggle in Vero Beach, and now we have somebody holding on to this land that somebody it's going to bring somebody from outside of our town to purchase it. And is that person going to benefit our town, because now they're going to hold on to it, like we spoke earlier, till the county changes its mind, or they laws change and then they sue us because we're not moving on it. There's so many scenarios that I see can come up in the future while they hold on to this, and they start claiming that we're not friendly about it, or they've had an investment and we're not allowing them the liberty to sell and prosper. I mean, so many things can come up from this.
Well, those parcels that you're speaking of, what concerns me, if they're going to be turned into high density living at some point, it's very close to the St. John's Reservoir, which is very sensitive wetlands. Um, and I'm just suspecting they know that the Fellsmere Annex has happened, and they know that there's going to be, I don't know how many, 50,000 units planned for that new town. So when that happens, um, are those residents going to use Route 60 to feed into Vero Beach? And if that happens, I don't think we're going to be able to resist anybody on the south side of Route 60 from developing their own new town. Um, the difference is Indian River County has a different planning objective than I believe the city of Fellsmere does. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can cross our fingers and stay
Yeah.
involved in it.
Yeah. So how does so now we're leading into planned development districts 9, 11, 14, right? Because that would affect how the planning takes place. And 9, 11, 14 is pretty much telling us what the process is for that. It kind of explains what to ensure the development will occur according to the limitations of use, design, and density and coverage. So that's following what 91106.
Yeah, I am not sure about that section, to be honest with you. Is um, but if we're talking about the process, um, I mean, we used to call these developments of regional impact. When they're so large, you have to go through an extensive process with proving that you're not going to harm the groundwater, where you're going to get, how your utilities are going to be supplied, what your daily impact on the roadways are going to be, and so forth. And usually that leads to determining what the impact fees and the upfront costs um, to our county or our cities to allow you to develop. Um, the problem I have with that is because I don't think the cost of developing these new towns, um, they are not going to pay for themselves. They pay for the upfront costs and they pay for the initial improvements,
Mhm.
but in the
Anything
end,
else, we pay for it.
Yeah.
we pay for the management, and it's not smart growth, so to say, because it's car dependent. And if you want to talk about affordable living, um, a car is roughly around 25 to 30% of your income. The cost of a vehicle for one vehicle is 30% of your income. So that right there, if you were to get rid of the car and you lived in a walkable area where you can live, work, and play, and you're not dependent on a car, um, that I believe that's attainable housing, and it offers a choice.
As
it centralizes our infrastructure.
the
Um,
thing with new housing is they're not building housing affordably. So they say it's attainable housing,
Yeah.
but then you can't really afford it because they put all these bells and whistles in it. It's like it's not brick and mortar anymore. It's fancy housing. Look, we're going to have a library here, we're going to have a pool here, we're going to have a gym here, we're going to have a computer room, and you're
sure.
paying for all this stuff. Even like when I went to Colorado and they built the new housing, they have, instead of having like the normal mailboxes, they have like these big, huge, a hallway that's huge for everybody's little safety mailbox thing. I'm like, what is that?
There's a good explanation for that. They are marketing to people in large markets that are used to paying 4 times as much as we do here. Now, let's face it, the attraction to Vero Beach has always been it was affordable. In
Yeah.
Florida,
Mhm.
and you know, low taxes, no income tax. Um, so, yeah, it's not affordable for locals or people that want to live simple. It's an escape from people leaving big metropolis areas that are tired of the urban craziness. So they're willing to pay $1 million for something we're used to paying, $250,000 for.
So it's like a catch 22. They're coming here and they're going to build stuff that we can't afford to live in so they can live in, but
And they're
it
selling.
doesn't balance out. Yeah. It doesn't balance out because those people have the money for that time period, but then when they're gone, the new people aren't going to be able to afford that.
Well,
I mean, our kids can't afford it. Our kids can't leave home without help, and a lot of times they come back home because they can't afford it. Like they can't even think about buying a house anymore because expenses are so high for them.
mhm. Yep. That's why they wanted. That's why they want to have these smart cities, these 15-minute cities, so that you don't go nowhere, that you don't and you don't really purchase. You end up renting. I mean, there's places in Fort
Hmm.
Lauderdale where you can see where they're building up a high rise just on the corner of Oakland Park and US One, and that high rise has everything. I mean, you don't have to go anywhere. The farthest you have to go is across US One to Publix and then back. So they design it that way so that you don't own the place, so that you just rent, but you're happy renting because everything's right in that vicinity. And like you said, Chris, they won't need a car because you won't have that expense of that car, so you can afford to pay for that high rise condo in a bigger area where everything's provided for you. So it's a double edged sword, really. And in
So
Vero,
how would
they're building those apartments on Indian River Boulevard, right on the right hand side, just past the hospital. You got those little luxury apartments with the pool and the salon
Hmm.
and all that, and then they're going to add a Publix to the one development down the street in Wabasso. They're going to add a Publix in the neighborhood. So it's you have to decide what's best suits for you, and what you can afford.
Yeah, so how do you do that if you have this community set up here somewhere in Indian River County, a little smart city, that you don't need a car, but the whole, all of Indian River County, you still need a car. You
You
know what I
do.
mean? Like you would still, there's no mass transportation here, so you would need to find a job that would pay enough money to support the cost of living, and you're not going to do that within that smart city alone. There's only so many jobs that go around.
Exactly.
So how is that going to even balance that
Well,
that out?
that's why I don't think these standalone new smart cities really are meeting the intention of smart growth. I think, and this is really a crazy idea, but I believe this. I mean, I'm shooting for the stars here. We have to. It needs to happen in our original urban core, and if it's compact enough, diverse enough, and full of mixed use, then you start, and it's walkable. You start to get more things out of it. You can control the runoff, so it helps the lagoon. You don't have to pay for roads where our sales tax. We're not getting the income that we used to get to pay for roads because people are driving electrical cars, um, and so forth. So this is my point about where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. The problem we have in Indian River County is the political divide between the city of Vero Beach and Indian River County. Two different planning objectives. Um, the city used to be the powerhouse, and it just didn't buy on. Sebastian and Fellsmere have annexed their areas around there. Vero can't do it. They have 17,000 residents, and they'll never have more than that unless they change their land use. And I think it should happen in the center of our town, and we create a compact area. Now, John, you bring up a good point. Home ownership is the American dream. And if you can't buy a home and you're renting the rest of your life, you're not putting you're not saving your money. You're not putting your money into something that you're going to get value out of it in the end. So renting is kind of a step up to that point. And if we provide people with multiple options on where they can live, and I use the analogy of a college campus, where a college campus doesn't necessarily grow in population. They're compact, but there's lots of little studio homes. There's apartments around the university, and they're affordable. And I think that's a step up that we don't have here. I mean, the mixed use, the Pocahontas apartments, there's retail downstairs and there's living upstairs. That's the kind of growth I want to see us infill with.
Yeah, I mean and downtown needs that. I mean, a thriving downtown is a thriving city, but our downtown's still not thriving. It's like trying to get there, but it just still always is just stagnant. It just doesn't have that foot traffic like it should. They took all the park benches out from downtown into Pocahontas Park and under that area by Heritage Center. You can't even sit. I know it's for the homeless and all that they want them laying on the benches, but you can't even find a place to sit in a park downtown. So it's things like that. Like you said, it's a disconnect between the city and the county. I try to talk to the mayor about when are we going to get these benches back? I used to work at the county down there at the chamber before COVID, and I would always sit out there and read a book on the bench and enjoy the weather. People were walking around. Now I go down there now and I walk around. I'm like, it's not the same thing. It's like, how are we not getting thriving growth downtown by taking away instead of adding? We're subtracting, and so it's not become that attractive, like you said.
Well, yeah, and even in the city, they built a storage unit instead of like a mixed use apartment building, where you could have had like little businesses, restaurants to eat, or a shopping center underneath it, and then people living in there. But now we have this big, ugly storage unit behind a car wash. Yeah. So they used all that property for a car wash and a storage unit. Yeah. And so the planning really needs to improve in the city. Like you said, their objectives are different because there's even people traveling. I have friends that travel across Indian River County to go north, and they're like, you guys are getting a lot of storage units and car washes and gas stations.
That's right.
Yeah, are you planning for some big rush?
Yeah. It's scary.
It's true. It's serving other residences outside of the city limits. It 100%. Does nothing for the inside of the city. And frankly, I don't think it's a huge tax base either. Compared to a thriving retail center.
Right. It doesn't bring jobs, it brings 3 jobs? It only takes 3 people to run a storage unit. And it takes up all of that space. So we really need somebody to start working on better planning for Indian River County as well as the city. And like you said, the city is stuck. The county grew around it, but the city actually has some of the best places. They have most of the parks, the beaches, They are still our urban core. They are our central urban district. And it's not going to stay that way if the city doesn't scrap the fear of becoming a Miami. It will never be a Manhattan. But if we don't do something or allow something in the city, the county's going to continue to bust at the seams. And that's what they've been doing the last 50 years. And that's what you're seeing, all this easy growth. It's so easy to develop something and sell it because people are coming to Florida and they're particularly wanting to come to Vero Beach. So it's not difficult to develop and sell.
So it's the way we do it and where it happens. And if we do it the right way in the right place, we will get many more dividends than what we expect. There will be other benefits that happen. And for me, particularly, the problem we have is the lagoon is like a canary in the mine to me. When the lagoon's dirty, we're not doing something right. And I want to preserve our green space. So the way to do that is to curb the sprawl and focus on our urban core, because so many things will come out of that,
For
particularly
example,
attainable housing, walkability. Our urban cores across the country, the cities are what they subsidize the subdivision and the suburban living. Most of the revenue comes out of our retail, mixed use commercial districts. That's where most of our tax money comes from.
Yeah.
So
in the city.
it comes from our urban districts. Absolutely.
Well, see, and that's a shame because they made the city so unwelcoming, like they even in the parks, like Vero Beach when I first moved here in 2004 was so dog friendly and so family friendly. Now I have to keep my dog on the leash and hope nobody tells me to take it out of the park because they have signs all over the place that say no dogs in parks.
Mhm.
Not even dog on leash in park. You know what I'm saying? So I leave. So we take our dog out of Indian River County and go enjoy a beach somewhere else because it's dog friendly. And I was telling Taylor Dingo, I says, Taylor, do you realize that dog friendly places have also people that spend money in restaurants because they have outdoor seating? And
Mhm.
then after they're done at the beach, they go to the restaurant nearby and they eat. Like I do that in Melbourne with our dog. We even buy our dog a cheeseburger and she sits under the outdoor table, but we have a favorite restaurant we always go to. Do we do that here in Vero Beach? Not anymore. So our money is not staying in Vero Beach. It's going to Brevard County. And if it's happening to me, it's
Mhm.
happening. If I'm making that decision, I can guarantee you other people are making that decision. They're going
Mhm.
out of town to spend their money. And
Yep.
we have to, I feel like the planning needs to work for everybody in all aspects: building, zoning, regulations. And as we grow, it seems like we're losing some of those freedoms of enjoying Vero Beach because we get more stringent on the rules now. Kind of like that restaurant in Sebastian that used to be the Captain Butcher's.
Oh,
You used to be able to park your motorcycles in front of Captain Butcher, and then the city decided after all the years that people were parking there to say no parking there. And then there was a parking lot across from Captain Butcher's that was all grass that belonged to the city of Sebastian. Now they say nobody can park there anymore. So
yeah.
people start going past it and heading over to Melbourne. So like Vero Beach has a lot of work that it needs to do besides
Yes.
the
Yeah.
planning and zoning because we're kind of making people go other places
Yes.
for the residents, if anything,
Yeah.
you
I,
know.
I totally agree. We just need to almost wake up and dust off the city. We can't. I just don't think it's realistic to preserve the entire city and make it a registered historic city, and not allow some redevelopment. If we pick and choose some areas closest to an urban core, um, you're going to see it revitalize and be able to sustain itself and help fund the city to provide the level of service that we all grew up experiencing.
Yeah.
Um,
So Chris, as an architect, how would you see that moving happening in Vero Beach, in the city of Vero Beach? Do you have like a vision?
Absolutely. I think you need to start by breaking down the political divide. Um, and what I mean by that is, you know, bring the planning departments together. Perhaps, either the city could annex part of the greater Vero Beach area, and or like in other cities like Jacksonville and Nashville, where the county and the city become one entity. Right now, I see, no growth city, pro growth county. Um,
So when you combine the county and the city together, now you have a greater fund basket. They're working together. So they're pretty much one.
yes,
It's
yeah.
the whole county. So then
Well,
you would do they still have their police, their city police?
well,
Does that affect?
these are all the things that have to be worked out. But I will tell you this: living in unincorporated Vero Beach, there are there's one commissioner in my district. The other one is close by, and the other one is 32963. The other two are in Fellsmere and Sebastian. I don't even know if they, So I want more. I want more direct representation. Um, and in the city of Vero Beach, you have five in such a small area. So
I
that's the kind of
know.
representation I'm looking for here. To
Yeah.
start with. So that's where I would start, and then I would also push for a master plan. We spent what 200 or $300,000 on coming up with this interesting kind of fun, playful caricature of what we thought we wanted on Main Street, and we could have spent that money doing a master plan that outlined real improvements in certain locations. Um, so I
I
don't
think
think we have a master plan anywhere.
Well, I think the problem there is they don't have a selection of people to choose from for the master plan. I mean, that guy that they brought up for the city's master plan is the same guy that has been doing the plans for
Hmm.
all of the what do you call them?
Yeah.
The
Yes.
cities, whatever you call it. Like, what's
Yeah.
his name? Izzy or I something. I
Duaney.
forget it. Dwayne. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, so Dwayne's the only guy that they can get an idea from. Like, there's a lot of people out there that they should be using, but Dwayne's the only one that came up, and nobody even liked what he had to say except a few people.
I know. And I think our residents, our taxpayers are gun shy about us hiring consultants from outside. Let's face it, what they cost a lot of money, and what are they doing? It's like they're just repeating what they did in the last city sometimes. But the way we used to do it is we used to plat our maps. We used to survey our towns internally. Our governments had the resources and the people inside to do these things. And I think if the county and city got together, we would have the resources to do that and prepare a grassroots master plan
Hmm.
with maybe including local professionals. You might need to bring in an urbanist from outside, but we have urban design planners in our area. So I, I, I totally think this is possible, but we have to change our mindset, and we have to educate ourselves on what other cities have done successfully to address the problems we're starting to experience.
What do you think about that, John?
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's just like everything else. We have to work together. We have to get things. The county and the city's got to work together. They have to come up with a plan to help each other. I mean, even this three corners thing that they're wanting to do. It's all just everything's just. It's just everything's like selective outrage. Everybody's like you said, it's a political divide. Like, oh, we want this, but no, we don't want that. And this group wants this, and this group doesn't want that. And it's just, it's nobody wants to come together. It's
Yeah,
sad.
I like the sound of the city and the county working together because sometimes when the city makes decisions, like I was talking earlier, it's 17,000 residents that you're making decisions for, but the other 150,000 residents could be using it, but if it's not appealing to them anymore, they're not going to go there. They're not going to frequent there. How many people from Sebastian come shopping in Vero Beach or come hang out in the bars in Vero Beach or the restaurants in Vero Beach or
Yeah.
come to the Pocahontas Park in Vero Beach? It's like you want to make it not just for the 17,000 residents that live there. Yeah, you're collecting
Hmm.
taxes from them, but you want to attract everybody else in Indian River County so that we come and spend our money there,
Yeah.
and it's not doing
That's right.
that.
I would say especially greater unincorporated Vero Beach. We're left out. We're left hung out to dry, and we're being managed by a government that wasn't intended to be a municipality. Put it that way.
Mm,
Um, and it's becoming that way, but there's no real defined center in unincorporated Indian River County. It's not meant to be its own city like the leftover parts. Will make us. All the growth is happening there and not in our cities. So
mhm.
that's a real problem, and it's basically we're just reacting to growth. We're allowing it to happen because, frankly, I don't think we know better. In some cases, I was looking at the planning and zoning commissions at the city and at the county, and there are no design professionals on those boards. There's no architects, no engineers, no urban planners. I think they're just people who are interested, which is great, to volunteer, and they're friends of commissioners, I think, but no real background.
Which is the reason why they outsource all of the planning and all of the information they need, because we don't have the experts right here in our town working for us.
Uh,
Like you're an
That's
architect.
true.
You should be on that board, you
I
know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm on a few other boards. I would be interested eventually. I'm having I'm enjoying what I'm doing now, and it takes a lot of time to volunteer on those boards if you really want to do it right. And
Hmm.
yeah,
So
I'm not sure I'm
what
ready to.
boards are you currently on?
I'm on the Architectural Review Commission in the city, and I was on the Historic Resources Advisory Committee with the county. That's it. Um, One's enough for me right now. I'm not much of a political person, and I'm enjoying my privacy. I have a young family, so
Well, thank you for what you do volunteer for. It does take a lot of work. And what do you think about the infrastructure that we're dealing with now with all the subdivisions that they have planned over these several years that are still coming up? That some people don't realize that 10 years ago they planned all these subdivisions. Like, I know I saw it several
mhm,
years ago, like 150 subdivisions or something like
right.
that. It was a very large number of subdivisions. And with our piping system, and like Vero Beach is like old town, like it was built like a small town. So all those pipes are not big enough for all of that. And I just had a pipe outside my house where they had to sleeve it with some rubber tubing because it's
Hmm.
cracking.
well,
Well, very true. And the county actually is investing in our infrastructure, and they're building more infrastructure to serve our cities, but also to serve the build out capacity of future growth, you know, in the urban service boundary. But what do I think about all these new subdivisions that are online? I think it's bad news. I think it's not sustainable growth. I think it's going to burden the taxpayers in the next 20, 30, 40 years when, our children are going to pay for it because it's just expensive to manage roads and to deal with the runoff that comes off of those, the water that goes into our lagoon, and there's going to be more of it. The piping, so the infrastructure
Hmm.
they do not pay for themselves. Let's just get that straight. They do initially, but
yeah, but
yeah.
it always gets passed on to the taxpayer eventually. All these developments, they pay for the infrastructure, they pay for all the run, putting the power and the water and the sewer, and then they hand it over to the homeowner association, and then we get stuck with the cost. I learned that with my neighborhood.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
just got hit with a massive bill of impact fees and assessment because the water on the county on the side of my house, the canal was starting to collapse because they used that metal, and that metal started to rust, and so the whole street started to collapse. And they passed that charge on to us and put it on our taxes. They didn't take up the cost. The county was like, no, sorry. They didn't even go through the process for like, yeah, maybe we should probably handle that. It's on our side of the road. But no, we all got crushed on our taxes. So my taxes went up. My mortgage went up $200 a month because of
Mm.
it. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So it's like this unexpected cost all of a sudden. It's like, and next thing you know, your mortgage goes up. It's gone up every year for the past since COVID.
And
Yeah.
and all that time you guys thought it was the county's side.
Responsibility, and it ended up
Yeah.
being our responsibility. And they're still not finished, and they've already stuck it on our taxes already, and they're not even done finishing it yet. They haven't put the signs back up. They haven't put the lighting back on the signs. They tore everything up, and now it's like half done, and they don't even care. They just slapped us with the tax bill, and that's it. And
Yeah.
like Mike said in the chat, every municipality should in the state should be in a state of emergency to replace the property taxes, because if we get rid of property taxes, then what are they going to do? Because they threw the cost on us because they wanted the money right away. They didn't want it. They didn't want to incur the cost to fix it. They fixed it, but then now they're sticking it to us for the next 10 years on our assessment. So it's like it's one half dozen the other. You can't win.
Yeah, and I think in the end, the level of service kind of takes a dive. You
Hundred
know,
percent.
Yeah, it
the
does.
strain on our emergency services is a whole nother thing. That we're talking about. I will say this: it's not so bleak. So the county's response to this growth is to purchase conservation easements so that people can't develop their land. They pay them for an easement. People can still farm their land and they own it in perpetuity, but they can't develop it anymore. And we are investing in more parks and greenways and trailways. I think that's kind of like the secondary way to deal with sprawl if you don't have an urban core. Um, so that's what they're trying to do to complement um, the disasters of sprawl,
Yeah.
I believe. But
Mm.
it's really difficult because here the key is to provide options for people. Everybody, I think ideally everybody does not want to live like have a wall between their neighbor.
Mm-mm.
But young people or people that don't have their own place to live don't mind that.
Well,
Um,
you're right. None of us minded as we were young and growing up because life is exciting. You want to have things that are easy, but as you mature and you want to have a family, you want to eventually be able to buy a house and settle down. You don't want to live in an apartment the rest of
that's
your
right.
life. And
Sure.
and with the way our country is today, when I was growing up, we weren't as divided as we are today. We have so many people out there that are so angry, like their anger is outrage, and to put people closer and closer and closer together, I just don't see the how that's possible when we have people that aren't just angry anymore. They're outraged, like they become violent, and you don't know who that is until
Well,
it happens.
the sociology behind that um, is related to urban growth, and what they say is we're disconnected. So we go home in a car. We get home. We stay. We might work in our yard. Then we get back in our car and drive to work. And so there is no, generally, if you live in a compact urban city, you see people on the street, you talk. I mean, when I meet with someone I have a problem with or that I need a solution, if I meet with them in person, I really can talk it out. But if we're on the phone, I don't see their expressions. I don't trust them. I get stern. I might even get angry. But if we're one on one, person to person, not so much. I'm really respectable, um, and vice versa. So yeah, it's true though. You're right. It seems like everybody, but I think that's once you once you get on your feet on the ground and you're meeting people and you're seeing people, I think that stuff starts to go away. You know,
Hmm.
honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I grew up in the city, so I lived in an apartment most of my life till I grew up and decided I wanted to move to a place like Florida where I could have a house and kids and a yard and have my own space. And to me, that is sanctuary. That is, and and I had more friendly neighbors when I moved to this type of lifestyle than I did in New York City. In New York City, you're like a horse with blinders on. You
Yeah.
know, you live in an apartment building, you
Yeah.
go up and down, up and down, you're on a rush, you're just going from A to point A to B in an apartment. The person next door to you, you might see them once in a while, but they open and close their door. But when you have a yard, you're working in your yard, you meet your neighbor, your kids play on the street, you can look down the road and see your kids playing. It's To me, it's just like a whole
Hmm.
nother open door, and it's
Yeah.
totally different living. And it's to me, it's priceless to have your own
Sure.
house, your yard where your kids can play. You can invite kids to come over, and you can invite friends to come over. But in an apartment, there's so many restrictions because you live on top of each other. The noise, you can hear your neighbor next to you. Just like, you were talking about college campus. I used to go hang out at my daughter's dorm, when she was away. And I'm like, wow, I can't get used to this. Like, you can hear the person upstairs walking around, you know? And
Sure.
that's to me, that's just part of growing up and living through that stage. But you still should have an option when you're in your late 20s to say,
Absolutely.
now it's time for family, for building the family, building the home, grounding my feet, being having the American dream. And I feel like we're getting a little bit away from that with this high density housing. Or even right now, I live in a old Florida home, like my home's like
Hmm.
from 1972. And my yard is like 135 by 80 or something, my yard, so I have enough room for my dog and stuff. But that's as small as I think we should ever go. You go smaller than that, then you're almost like apartment living. If your
Yeah.
neighbors doesn't keep their yard, it's right on top of you. Kind of like if you're in an apartment and if your neighbor has roaches and stuff, they come into your apartment no matter
Hmm.
how clean you keep it.
Yeah.
So it's a better quality of life when you
Sure.
graduate from that to a
Agreed.
house.
Agreed. But the question is, what happens when we build that out and there's no more room to build houses of that nature? Um,
Well, I
there is
think
that.
that's a beautiful thing, because then I think, guess what? If you wanted to get on the subway and it was too full, you had to wait for the next train. You didn't get on. So if you want to come to Florida and it's too full, there's another state over there. And if you want to live in high density housing, there's New York, Chicago, Michigan, California. Go over there. That's my opinion. Look, we're
Yeah.
full. That's it. We shouldn't have to become a bubble with high density housing just so
Yeah.
you could find a place to live. I
Nope.
bought here for that reason, and that's really, I feel strong about that.
No, I agree. We do want to we want to maintain that. There's no doubt about it. That is what the crown jewel of what we're experiencing now. But if you do build out and there's no more left, you know what's going to happen. Affordability is not going to be an option, and things are going the demand. The price is just going to skyrocket. So I
Well, that's
do.
what's happening now because people are coming down and buying houses for cash. I
Mhm.
mean, at least if I keep my house, I can pass it on to my daughter and she won't be stuck, you
Mhm.
know, where she is already. I mean, she's
That's the
renting a
benefit.
place, that's the
Sure.
benefit.
Yeah.
But with all these high contractors buying homes, I don't see an end to it.
Yeah.
Even if we do smart planning, because when the county commissioners were way back, they were looking. Flesher said when they were looking at builders that were saying that it was affordable housing, and then when they gave him the price, he's like, "That's not affordable.
Yeah.
Nobody can afford that." So it's like, how are you building affordable housing? Uh, because I don't believe there's such a thing as affordable housing. With what we have to do is we have to get back to, like you said, it's got to be an even growth so that you have some open space. You have parks where you can go and frequent, but you also have an area away from that where people can actually have industry where they can work, because that's a good
Hmm.
balance, where you
Hmm.
can move away from your city and move away from your nice urban area and rural area and go out and work and earn a living to pay your bills. But we don't have that here in Vero Beach. We have a lot of service industry
Certainly.
jobs. So
Yes.
those jobs are paying, if you're lucky, you're making 50,000 a year, but mostly they're around 30,000 a year jobs with little health insurance. So
Hmm.
as Vero Beach grows, the native Floridian that lives here is being washed out because if they leave and sell their house, they can't come back because it'll be too unaffordable to come back.
Hmm.
So it's just it's really such a hard thing to deal with here in this little town because it's such a beautiful town. Like you said, if you have something beautiful, the price goes up. And I think we should just keep it beautiful, and then instead of building more housing, using those areas to try to mix the development to bring some good paying jobs. I mean, Oslo, where they were building the interchange on 95 in Oslo, there's all that land over there, and they have they have the the um, the dump out there. So
Hmm.
why couldn't nobody wants to live next to the dump? So why couldn't they find a business that they can build out there and have like an industrial park right across from the dump that has high paying jobs like engineer jobs. Every
Sure.
place that has engineers or architects, they need a secretary, they need administrative
Yeah.
assistants, they need accountants. Those are good paying jobs.
We call that clean industry
Yeah.
or commercial, you know.
Yeah. But
Um,
see, that would work. That would be a good thing for Vero Beach because now people are living here and they're driving not too far to go get a decent paying job that offers insurance and stuff. And that area would be perfect for it.
well, I think that was the reason why they bridged the gap between the urban service boundary to allow more variety of uses and a diversity of uses. There's no doubt we do need to provide more different kinds of economic opportunities here. But I don't know if you recall what happened to Knight's Armament and
I do. I
why they
called
moved to
Knights.
Melbourne. You
Yes,
know.
I called Knights Armament when I was running for county commission to find out why they left. And I
Hmm.
talked with one of the owners there, and one, they couldn't get their permits because they got this big government contract and they needed to build another building and they couldn't get the permits for it. Two, they also did a study on skilled labor, and the study came back low on skilled labor. And then they were looking at a place in Georgia that gave them a good deal on property, but then Brevard County reached out to them and said, "Hey, we don't like dipping into our neighbors, but we've got property out here." Was it Brevard? Yeah, it was Brevard, and then they ended up in Brevard County. So yeah, I called him because I was like, why did you leave? That would have been a great manufacturing company right here in Vero. And where they were was in that area I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, why did we let them go away?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is when I was running for county commission, I was, talking to businesses and I wanted to know, hey, what's it like being a business owner? I ran into a customer out there in Sebastian, and he said he wanted to open up another business, but they were charging so much money for permits just to put a one stall toilet so that he had a toilet in his business with one
Gee.
sink. They were charging such astronomical fees for the permits and all that that
Mm,
he said screw it, and he took his business to Brevard County because he didn't have to deal with all that. So I'm like, we're killing ourselves.
yeah. Yeah. Well, you're right. Our contractors are used to making the money that they make building high-end custom residential on the Barrier Island. And so, if you want a little bathroom or a kitchenette in your office, it's hard to find something that is kind of reasonable anymore, unless that's what you're dealing with. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I know
fortunately,
that. I did a little research on that when I was running for county commission because I wanted to know. I was like, why do we only have service industries. You can't survive on the fire department, the nursing, pipers on and off, and the police department. You can't, and the school district. The school district is one of the
Sure.
biggest employers.
Yep.
Our main economy came from agriculture. It has always been the number one resource for our income, for our revenue in Indian River County, and I'm not so sure it's that anymore.
Now,
Um, so, you know, but
Yeah.
these growth concerns are happening all over the state. We have smaller towns than ours that are dealing with this, and they don't know how to do it without getting sued. So they're allowing the growth to happen. And when you have developers that are seasoned to lobby small governments, they just
yeah.
embed and they win, and they know how to do it. And we're learning how to combat it, but you know, I think when the people speak up and let people know when the pressures is heavy in response to the development, then we're going to make those decisions. But
Yep.
we have to
Hmm.
keep the pressure on. We have to stay loud, and we have to be transparent and educate the voting public, because it only takes one good commercial to change someone's mind before an election. Sometimes, if you know what I mean.
Hey, I thought you
Um,
said you stayed out of politics.
well, I mean, I try to.
I know,
You
right?
know,
It's tough. It's tough,
yeah.
especially these days. That's for sure. That's
It's
funny.
tough. Well, Chris, it was such a pleasure to have you
Yeah.
on.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate you coming on and sharing with us, and
Thank
would
you.
love to have you on again.
Yep. For sure.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
so
Very good.
we've been at it for an hour, so let's close it out, and thank you again for joining us.
You're welcome.
All
Appreciate it.
right. Good night.
Thank y'all.
Yep.
All right. What do you think, John? That was a great interview.
Yeah, it's just good information, getting it out to the public, letting them know what's going on in the county and with the boards and with everything else that we're supposed to do with the board report. Brought to you by IRC Media and Interconnections. We had a great night last night at the Conspiracy Club 101 at Filthy's. We had a
Yeah,
great
I'm wearing my
turnout. You
T-shirt.
got your shirt on. Everybody was buying shirts and having a good time and meeting new people. And everybody, I said, I got a couple messages about, like, thanks for having me last night. I had a great time. So I mean, it's ramping up. So I'm really excited for that. It's time. It's time for people to start communicating and getting together and gathering
Hmm.
instead of being keyboard warriors and just going back and forth on social media about stuff. We got to talk about it. We got to get in groups and create good positive energy. And we're in charge. We the people are in charge, not these people that are these politicians. So
Yeah, because we all run on energy. It's like it's that, energy that's in us, and it's a frequency. There you go.
exactly, yeah, it's a
We
frequency.
all have a frequency, and
Yep.
we're sharing that. And the frequency was good last night. I met a lovely lady named Sunshine. I
Yep.
loved her name. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I love that name.
Yeah. She's
And
all. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I met some new people last night, and it's just fun to do that and get everybody out and have them, meet other people and make
I,
friends and have
yeah.
conversation.
Yep, just good gathering, good conversation, and that's all it's about. Just synergy, good synergy, and
Mhm.
and that's what we're doing at IRC Media. And so, if you want to support us, buy a T-shirt, become a sponsor. We're going to get some sponsors for the show again, for this show and for the Gun Stuff TV show. So we're going to have some sponsors coming soon. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, and remember every second Thursday of the
Yep.
month, we're at
Yep.
Filthy's from 6 to 8.
Yep.
And then every Friday at 7 p.m., the board report, we're right here.
Yep. It's
All
perfect.
right. Well,
Yep.
thank you, everybody. We're going to close it out. Have a good evening, and we'll see you next Friday. And next month, on the second Thursday of the
Yep.
month, show up at Filthy's, bring $20, and get our shirt and wear it
Yep.
with pride. Look at that.
Mhm.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.